Well, howdy there, folks. I am Trooper 6, and welcome to Let's Paint. And we are continuing with the sons. Well, some sons of Sanguinius, but we're continuing with the Ghosts of Baal. Who the hell are the Ghosts of Baal? They are a successor chapter I have created. So this is my own little homebrew. And they are a mixture of different blood chapters. So you'll have anybody from any blood chapter. So you'll have some flesh tears, you'll have some blood angels, you'll have blood scythes, flesh eaters, blood drinkers, anybody and everybody, all right? And the reason for that is because they come directly from the Devastation of Baal era. So we're talking 999.M41. These guys rise from the ashes. That is the Devastation of Baal. And they're hunting Leviathan primarily. Other than that, it's all good in the hood for them, right? No, it's never good in the hood for the fucking Space Marines. But they are basically an all Primaris chapter. They will have Firstborn on there. It won't be long. And any Firstborn will definitely be their veterans. But I asked you on the last episode, what the hell paint scheme are we going to go with, right? Because we got this white. We got a red chest. It's looking very close to blood size. But we have the red pauldrons. But not just red pauldrons. We have red pauldrons with black trim. We've got a red helmet. We've got a red backpack. Now you saw that I just did red wings on the Aquila. What are we going to do next? Red legs. This is where it differs. I was going to leave it at that and be kind of reminiscent of the Knights of Blood, because the Knights of Blood died when it came to the Devastation of Baal. They are now extinct, and I don't see any love for them anywhere in the community, and that kills me, man, because they're awesome. They were so hardcore. No one will fight with them. And it's also kind of at their discretion. They don't want to fight with anybody because they know their reputation. They were basically cast out by the Blood Angels, by all of the chapters of Blood, because they were just so vicious and violent and unnecessary. I meant to leave that white, but that's okay. But during the Devastation of Baal, they requested that they fight alongside the Flesh Tearers, and Gabriel Seth was like, why the fuck do you want to fight next to us? We fucking hate you. You guys are an insult to the blood. So what are you doing, man? What are you doing? We don't want you. We don't want your kind here. And they were like, well, we're more alike than you think. You're the dying chapter. We are a dying chapter. Like, you say you're the dying chapter, but come on. We have more death company than any. And we're vicious monsters. We know what we are, and we're okay with that. And you represent the best of us, and we want to fight right by your side. And Gabriel was like, oh, hell no. But didn't really kick him off the planet either. So they fought like a mile away. They were like, far enough away to where we won't just run over there and kill you, because, you know, we have an insatiable bloodlust, and when it comes to fighting, we just don't want to stop, and we're going to see you over there, and we're going to run over there, and we're going to kill you anyway, because fuck it. That was the Knights of Blood's problem. Their bloodlust was too much. And not to say their red thirst, just the bloodlust alone. Once they started killing, those fuckers didn't want to stop. They didn't want to stop, can't stop, won't stop. So they would just attack. So anytime they were fighting with like the Imperium, if they were fighting with some Militarum, and they defeated all of their enemy, well, it didn't matter because now you were dead. now we're going to kill you. Because why stop here? Why stop at when you're having such a good time? When we're having so much fun together and you're going to stop the party? What, just because we won? I don't think so, Scooter. So, with that tangent out of the way, what are we talking about? We're talking about the Ghosts of Baal. So these guys are basically just a successor chapter made up of anybody from any chapter. Any sanguinary chapter, that is. So if there's, we'll say there's one survivor of the Knights of Blood, since they all died anyway. We'll say there's one survivor because Games Workshop doesn't give a shit about retcons, right? We'll just do that, and then there's their chapter master. Get an awesome Knight of Blood, and then you can have whoever you want. Anybody who felt like they didn't quite belong with their chapter, and it happens. It's not like everybody's a real blood brother. I mean, 99% of the time they are. But you do have that 1% that are like, yeah, you guys are cool, but I kind of just want to go home. But I can't go home because I don't have a home. So I'm kind of stuck here with you. And there you go. There's a Ghost of Baal. But when it came to their color scheme, I wanted to pay homage to the Knights of Blood because I loved them. And they died. But then I was like, you know what? It needs just a little bit something. It needs a something, right? And I'd already created my Proto Marines, and anybody who knows what the Proto Marines are now, thank you. A little homebrew project of mine. A part of a bigger overarching project that is not in relation to these guys. But they got red legs, and I wanted to do that. So here we are. It makes them stand out a bit, but I left the arms all pale and just with the red shoulders. I was just trying to think of ways to make them stand out a bit. So there we go. There it is. Knights of Blood. Knights of Blood. Ghosts of Baal. What the hell am I doing, man? Ghosts of Baal. What we are going to do, though, is we're going to break out this Black Templar again. And I'm going to get my Zero brush. Is this it? Yep. You see how all of these brushes now, even the Zero one, is just so frayed. It's crazy. But I do have one that's still in the plastic right here. It's still covered. And that's because these brushes are getting pretty old and pretty haggard now. But basically what we're going to do, we're going to put a squared sectioned off knee to denote a certain company or platoon even. I haven't really seen Warhammer do things like that. Like actually break things up in that kind of respect. I've only ever seen companies, and maybe they'll have some squadrons, which I guess could be platoons. Either way, for something so military, I haven't seen too militaristic of a breakdown. So I'm trying to get this pretty good looking because I'd rather not try to fix it later. All right. I hear those birds chirping. It's some of those same birds that you hear in all the memes about nostalgia. Now people are like, oh man, times are changing. I never hear these birds anymore. Dude, even out in the city, now granted this is Virginia Beach, even out in the city and at my job I can hear the same nostalgic birds in the morning that we ever heard, and I'm like, that just tells me that, well, one, whoever was posting about it just wanted some trendy content, but two, that you people are just not paying attention out there. That you're so wrapped up in the depression of life that you're missing the fact that these things are still there. They're still there, man. Whew. This room is getting stuffy, man. Stuffy, stuffy, stuffy. Ugh. And we're stretching. All right. So, since I got that true copper out, we're going to go ahead and do something with that real quick because we're not going to need it for anything else other than the Aquila. Little bloop there. And bam, we're going to put that over there. That is the true copper by Army Painter. More paints, of course. Simple as that. No, I'm not sponsored. This is just the stuff I use. It would be nice if I was sponsored, honestly. That'd be cool. I'm assuming it would be cool. I really don't know. It would certainly not be cool if they were like, hey, you need to talk about this, this, and this, and you can't. I mean, the cussing thing doesn't really matter. But I'd much rather have things be as organic as possible. And trying to make things organic does not make it organic, if you know what I mean. It either is or it isn't. And I do like things to just flow how they flow. And I've talked about that before on the show where, I'd thought about doing voiceover stuff, and I am not going to make the stand of I will never do it because you just never know. It might be a necessity one day. Maybe the audio will cut out or something like that. I don't know. Almost forgot. I do use the true copper for this. But anyway, yeah, you never know what might happen. Just might need to save my ass one day doing it because technology be technology. But if anybody's wondering what we're doing for music today, we actually have the Pokemon Johto lo-fi going on again because I just wanted something not really mindless in the background, but just something chill, something nice. And if you're joining me for the first time today and you can see over there in the top corner a different paint pot, you're right. I painted a new one, and you can go back to episode 1 and see it because I did show it off because hell yeah. Why the hell wouldn't I show it off? I took the time to paint it. Hell, you can go to my shorts feed and you'll be able to see it there because it looks awesome. All right, what are we going to do next? Why don't we just go with some leather? We can do some leather. We're at about 15 minutes in this episode. We can do some leather. Get that leather out of here. Get our Haggard ass number 1 brush. And get the leather in view. Not that that really matters, I think, but you can see my process and people can bitch me out for not thinning my paints. But you can also tell that most of the time I don't really need to thin the paints. Now, I'm gonna say that, and then you're gonna see just how it is painting over white, and it can be a bitch, and people will be like, well, if you thin your paint, you might just get a nice, smooth, clean layer over it. White's a little different to paint over, dude, just like black is. You go with dark colors over light colors, and you most of the time you have to do a couple of layers. It's just how it go. That's mostly the reason I like priming all my minis in gray, is because, man, you can really get a nice even coat of practically any color. You won't have to do multiple passes. Won't really have to do much of that. I wonder if I could turn this down and have that look okay. I really don't know if that looks okay for you guys. I'm just gonna kind of leave it where it was. I know in one of my series I turned off the spotlight, and it looked fine. It almost looked better. I don't know if it would or not. I don't know what people prefer. Kind of, as much as I do care, I kind of don't care what you would prefer, because I need to see for what I'm doing. And if anyone noticed, the base is looking a little different here today too. We're not going to be doing any of the mud. We're not doing any gravel. We're not even doing that Martian iron earth for the cracked desert floor, which would have been great for these guys, because, you know, if they're Ghosts of Baal, we could have done that and added some red in there, and bam, you would have had Baal. You would have had a Baal-like base, but that's okay. The reason we're not doing that is because I didn't want to throw in all the colors for the dry brushing, for the weathering. You know, we're just going to do the normal weathering with our mummy robes. And then letting the shade oil do its thing, the cheat sauce. And that was basically it. It's because I wanted a clean set of armor, in a way, if that makes sense. Now, what I mean by that, of course, is the fact that I didn't want to have to dirty it up with mud and other colors for the rest of the armor. Because I just wanted a nice armor to show off what the color scheme really is here. You know, I went out of my way to try to create this, and gosh dang it, that's what we're gonna do. It just doesn't feel right when I say gosh dang it. I'm pretty sure it doesn't sound right either. Yeah, gosh dang it, Bobby. It just don't sound right. Listen to here. Listen to here, Billy. That's not how we talk on this show. We gotta be more aggressive. We gotta be dumber. Kinda like we're doing right now. You get me? You hear me? You feel what I'm doing? You catching the spit that I'm flapping here, Billy? If you're not, well, I guess you ain't paying attention there. That's okay, Billy. I didn't pay attention in school either. It's kind of why we're doing this. It's kind of exactly why we're doing this. Oh, man. Okay. Got that leather taken care of. Couple of layers on all of that. And there we go. The if we'd have used the oak brown, that would have been a pain in the ass. Oak brown over white. It just don't do. And the barbarian flesh is usually for the dry brushing, but we are going to get out the barbarian flesh real quick. I'm going to use this instead of the mummy robes for that little banner right there. And headcanon, you could say it is because they're using, leathered flesh. Like they cut off some flesh of an enemy or a dead neophyte and decided to use it, decided to treat it so they can make their own parchment, so that they can have their fancy little things like this. That is fine. That's usually what I do when it comes to chaos. And I see most of their leather, any of their leather wrappings and whatnot, and I try to color it various flesh tones. Because I always like to prefer to think that chaos would do that. Or we can just say that it's some weathered parchment paper. Oh, I forgot one more part that needs that metal. That metal right over there. Bloop, 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 bloop. The pommel of our chainsword. Doesn't need it. I guess I could go silver, but who wants to do that? When's the last time you really saw a silver pommel on one of these? Don't answer that. I don't know. You're going to answer it anyway, aren't you? Because I said it. Actually, I doubt it. I doubt you're going to answer. For some reason, you people don't like to comment. But I do dig it when you do. It's really cool. Makes me feel more engaged with everyone. It's really awesome when people talk. Good or bad. Bad is still good feedback. Depending on the bad, some people like to just be trolls. They like to have fun. And that's fine. You can have your fun. I'm going to laugh if one day in the future people really start to engage with it. And I mean the old videos. They're like, oh man, answering your question, or hey, you should do this next. But like, yeah, I asked that like 3 years ago. But I hear you. Or it might even be funny to be like, hey man, you should totally do a death company. Yeah, I did. So take a look at all my videos. You'll see. It seems our lo-fi video ended. Where are we going now? It should be the next lo-fi. Yeah, it's the Kanto region. So that's awesome. All right. His armor is basically done right there. All we gotta really do now is the metals, and we're at 23. So we'll get out our gunmetal, and we're gonna turn our palette. That should be enough. That should be more than enough. We're hoping. We're seeing. We're doing. We're feeling it out. Let me think. Is there anything on here that needs to be metalled? What I was talking about with the base earlier is that we're not doing any of the mud or whatnot, and this looks grainy and stuff, and basically this is asphalt is what I went with. I found something that was called asphalt. I don't have it with me right now. For those people that know our Citadel technical paints, you know exactly which one I was using. And it was just, I wanted to try it. When I read up on it, it said, hey, this is supposed to more or less look like asphalt. I was like, okay, cool. It's like, depending on how that comes out, will depend on what I do with it. And it came out to the point where I was like, cool, I can use this for when I want to have just some clean enough armors. When I'm trying to show off a paint scheme, I don't have to muddle it up and show it off like that, because it drives me nuts. I had one, it was Children of Corn, some Emperor's Children that fell to corn, and their paint scheme was supposed to be, solidified and congealed blood. So I used my Army Painter Glistening Blood to do their armor, and then I had White Chaos detailing or Chaos markings. All the trim work that they would have. And then it came time to do all the weathering, and I was using a new mud, and everything just got so muddled. And then the real kicker was using the Nuln Oil, because the armor itself was glistening, just like the name implied, glistening blood. It looked awesome. It actually looked like blood. I was like, this is great. Then I put the shade oil on everything, and it dulled it right out and made everything matte. And that really did sadden me. And go figure, the model that I was very upset with, because then he just looks like any kind of corn berserker. He's got his red armor, and I wouldn't doubt, or I wouldn't fault anyone if they were just like, oh, dude, you even used the corn red, that's great. I didn't. But, you can't tell. So I'm not going to fault anyone. I'm not going to yell at anyone. I'm not going to get mad at anyone. Not that I would yell at you for stupid shit like that. It's just, it was supposed to clearly be something else, and it wasn't. And that did actually upset me. I got very much bummed about it, because I put a lot of work into that miniature, a lot of care, just for the final results to get muddled out like that. It kind of crushed me a little bit. All that hard work. It's like doing a whole bunch of work to a little Aquila piece on a piece of armor, and you're putting in all the fine details, and you're like, oh hell yeah, that thing is gonna fucking stand out like a bitch. Look at that, fucking beautiful, so pretty and sparkling. I got all the details just right. Bam, you got the gun that covers it. It kills me. It kills me, man, when things like that happen. Breaks my heart. Breaks my little heart. But what are you going to do? Except try and try again, right? So that's exactly what we are going to be doing. We're going to be trying again. This time I'm going to be using that asphalt base. That way I don't have to use any mud effect or dry brush anything on there and muddy up everything. And I'm going to be very sparing with the Nuln Oil. I'm not going to touch that armor. I will touch the white only, just to give some depth to any of the rivets. And that's about it. Other than that, I ain't touching that armor. I want it to show off. It is an Emperor's Children, corn or not. I just couldn't believe it, man. All that work, I was feeling really good about it. And then bam. I was doing what I needed to do, and it covered what I didn't want it to cover. And that broke my heart. So I was like, man, I put a lot of work into you. Now you look like just anything else. And it killed me that it looked like anything else, because he wasn't supposed to just look like any other thing. He was supposed to stand out. That's why That's why you just keep practicing. I mean, hell, man, my painting has gotten a lot better since I really started focusing on it in 2018. That's when I really started there. Hell, from my very first mini to today is a drastic and painful difference. I always look at my shovel knight that I did. I made a shovel knight for D&D, and my God. And I know we're going a little bit over time here. I see the timer, and that's okay. As soon as we're done with this backpack, we're going to call it here. I know we're not done with the chainsword yet, but that's okay. We're just going to get all this squared away. Because this is a tricky part to the paint scheme, especially with these haggard brushes, man. And I could switch it over. I could just break out one of the better brushes. But as you can see, we're almost done with this part. And there you go. Now all I need to do is this top part. And I don't know why I've been doing this. I mean, I do, but I don't at the same time, because anybody would just paint this shit red and leave it at that. I don't know. It breaks it up, you know. Gives it some contrast. Makes the mini not that boring. And that's something that I have been personally enjoying, is when you don't have a boring model to look at, when it's just all monochrome. Even with all your cool detailing, like edge highlighting and whatnot, when you got a monochrome thing, it's kind of boring to look at. It is great to see all of the detail that you can put into it and everything like that, man, but that color scheme would definitely benefit if you just give it some love. And you know what? We're going to give it some love anyway. We're not going to go into the next episode having to do this. So just be prepared for another long one. Because after this, all we really got to do are some transfers. We got to glue the sumbitch together, and then we got to shade it and spin it. And we'll be done. So this might even be the shortest series yet, because I can't honestly think of anything else we'd have to do. And we're not going to have a lot of transfers. If you can see them over there already, there's 2 sitting there. I'm going to have to cut out a new one because I forgot about my own color scheme. Do 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 do. Man, what a day. Potentially going to have a busy day ahead of us after all this, because like I said, we started this at 5:30 a.m. It's about the time I started actually painting. I got up a little bit before my alarm because, man, I just wasn't sleeping well. And here we are, painting like nothing ever happened. Like I totally wasn't laying in bed crying about how I just wasn't sleeping well. Not that I was actually crying about that. It was mainly just me going, damn, my neck hurts. And it's been hurting for a couple days now. All right. That should be it for the metal. So we're going to call it here. Clean my brush real quick. Alrighty. So next episode, all we've really got to do is glue this sumbitch together, hit it with some details, hit it with the transfers, and then that will be it. So, if there's nothing else from you fine people, I hope that you have a lovely one. I hope the Void Father guides your brush, because you deserve some love. You deserve some love.